Oh, nothing. I just spent $500 on 4 ball tires and a tow. How much do you have, Audrey?
35.
She has $40, Dad.
How would you know unless you went in my purse, you rotten snake?
Terrific.
The motel will cash a check.
Yeah, they better. We're going to run out of gas.
Would you take a personal check?
For how much?
$300?
I can't do that, sir.
Look, I've lost all my cash and we're on our way to California and...
Wally World?
Yeah, Wally World. And I'm sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place, you know? I'd really appreciate it.
Not without a major credit card.
I'm making this out for $1,000. All you have to do is give me $300 in cash and keep $700.
The only thing I can do is have you stay here until the check clears. 10 working days.
Okay, let's go. Come on. Where's Edna?
She's in the car.
Good. Come on, kids. Get your butts in the car. Go.
Don't you want to look at the Grand Canyon?
Great.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Doug, and I am just thrilled to be here this morning. Some might say my soul's on fire to be here, and you'll hear about that just a little bit more. Man, whether you're in the auditorium or whether you're online, I've got to fill you in a little bit of a background, Beth's introduction there. About 8 months ago, I'm sitting in my office in Moorhead at Minnesota State University. Moorhead is the athletic director, and all I'm thinking about is games and winning games. And here I am today. It's been a strange journey, and I want to share with you why I'm here today in this very spot. I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. And as I think about it, and as I think about how God's worked in my life, He's showed me a few things. And I'm going to share a lot of that with you this morning. But the 3 things that I've realized as I've gotten a little bit older is I've had 3 transformational experiences in my life. So the first one is I was a college athlete, and I enjoyed that. And I liked it so much, I wanted to replicate that experience for other people. And so that's why I worked in college athletics for 25 years before coming to work for Prairie Heights. And then leadership development and personal growth, that's had a huge impact on my life, so I love being in that space and sharing that with other people. And it's the third one that got me into this spot. I mean, there's an X on the floor where I'm supposed to stand sometimes, so I'll stand on the X. But what got me on this X is the transformational experiences I've had in the local church. And that's why I'm here. I've had so many different parts of my life impacted because I'm a member of a local church, and I just want to share it with as many people as I can, and I get all excited about that. So that's what today is all about. That's how I got here, is I've lived through things, I've been through things, and I've learned things because I've done a lot of things wrong. Don't usually get them right the first time. And I just want to share that with as many people as I can. And so usually when I'm here, I get to do the welcome, which is about 3 to 4 minutes long if you've ever timed it. But I've got like the full 30 minutes today. So I wanted to make sure I was prepared. So I brought a few things with me. And I got a bottle of water just in case my voice cracks. And as I was driving here this morning, the perfect song was playing on the radio. I don't know who sings it. No. But there's a line in it that says, I need to be a little bit more like Jesus and a little bit less like me. I don't know if any of you heard that song. So I figured I better bring both Bibles today. So I got both Bibles just in case, because I need to be a little bit more like Jesus and a little bit less like me. And I've got some Kleenex. Because while Beth told you that I am loud, and that'll come up several times today, I was thinking, just go off on a tangent here, I was thinking as I was listening to the music, there's that line in there, like a tidal wave. And like a hurricane, you can't get away from me. That's my voice most times. And you're going to hear about that a little bit. But I got this box of Kleenex in case I cry. I don't know if I'm going to cry this morning. I think there's better chances that I will versus that I won't. And why I'm talking about that is, it's part of understanding who we are as people. Somebody probably about 20 years ago said to me, pay attention to what makes you laugh, pay attention to what brings joy to your heart, and pay attention to what makes you cry. Those are the things. Those are what's in your heart. Those are the things you carry with you. And when you start to understand what those things are, And when it happens, then you can replicate it so you can do it even more. And for me, one of the places that I do get emotional and that I do start to cry a little bit is that when I've had life-changing experiences and getting to share them with other people. That touches me. That touches me right here. So that's why I've got the Kleenex today. And we're going to talk about 3 things today. I'm going to keep it simple and hopefully keep it interesting so nobody falls asleep. I can see enough, so if I see anybody nodding off, if I clap my hands, that means I saw somebody nodding off, just for the record. But as I think about it, and I think about being loud, and then I think about the music this morning. I don't know if you picked up on it. 2 songs, same line. I am a child of God. Fortunately, through the experiences I've had and the people I've spent time around, I know that I'm a child of God. And sometimes when I think about it, sometimes I got to pause so my voice doesn't crack. What really makes my voice crack is I know in my heart I'm a child of God. Every single person that's here, whether you're in person in our auditorium or whether you're online, you're a child of God. I'm a child of God. You're a child of God. We're all children of God. And it's true, and I know it without a doubt. You might doubt it, but I'm telling you, I know it without a doubt. You are a child of God. Because I know I'm a child of God, and I know what that means. I know deep in my heart, I know that God sent His child, His Son, to earth, and He died on the cross for my sins, and I've got enough of them to forgive those sins and give me eternal life. I know that. And I know I don't have to do anything to have that eternal life except accept that gift. And it's the same for all of you. And it's important to me that you understand how strongly I know that and how strongly I believe that. Because there's times where I've doubted it. And there's times where I maybe haven't known it. In spending my life in athletics and sports, there's a lot of times I relied on what other people believed in me and what other people thought I could do and what other people didn't doubt about me to get through some of those tough times. And that's why I have 2 Bibles today. I wasn't sure which one I was going to open up because I want you to know what that feels like. I want you to see it. I want you to see how it was and how it's been in my life. And I don't know why I'm picking up this Bible, but somebody believed in me. Somebody didn't have any doubt about me when I had some doubts about what I was supposed to do. They wrote me a note in this Bible. I'm gonna read it to you. It was actually Beth, our lead pastor, back in 2017, long before she ever thought she'd be the lead pastor, and long before I ever thought I would be on this stage. But she had a belief in me, and she had a confidence and a thought about me, and she shared it with me, and it's something I thought about as I was trying to decide what God wanted me to do. I leaned on somebody else's belief. And she wrote, I pray that the next 2 years are the greatest years of spiritual growth for you, and that your growth leaks into your family, in your workplace, and that you keep growing with God. And maybe I didn't believe I worked at a state institution. Maybe I didn't believe how my faith could leak into my work. But I guarantee you, over the last couple years there, it did. And Beth had that belief in me, just like I have the belief, just like she has the belief, just like anybody that was on this stage today, or anybody that's running a camera, or any volunteer. I know there are people that don't believe this in their heart, but we all believe it, and we all know it. And when you have a doubt, you are a child of God. I know it. I'm a child of God. You're a child of God. In fact, Marshall, he's my youngest son. He's 9. I got 4 kids. You're going to hear more about him later, and I guarantee you will laugh at me. When he was born, my wife made this sign for his room. And when she made it, I thought, oh, that's nice. It was on one of those kind of hanging shelves, and it's our 4th kid, so we got a little smarter with nurseries. The walls are white. Didn't get too complicated. She made this sign. I'm like, oh, that's a nice sign. And over the years, it's come to mean a little bit more. I brought it today because it lines up. And it's one of the things that I know about me, something I know about you, something we all are. And if you go into Psalms, the sign is, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You go to Psalm 139, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. I have no doubt that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I have no doubt that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And anytime you doubt it, know that I believe enough in it to maybe help carry you through that. And maybe there's somebody else that you know that is always thinking the best of you. But you have to realize God made you on purpose. And that's the first thing that I wanted you to take away today, is you are fearfully and wonderfully and uniquely made. God made you on purpose. There is no doubt about it. If you dive into the Bible, which at the end of the day, the things I'm going to talk about, they're here to help strengthen your faith and help you have the life that God wanted you to have. You've already gotten the gift of eternal life and into heaven. All you have to do is accept it. These things, they're just to help you as we interact with different people and live our lives. So as I think about you are fearfully, wonderfully made, and I am fearfully and wonderfully made, it leaves me speechless when I really think about that. And I want you to think about that. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. The challenge we all face, though, is we don't always want to accept that. You have the doubt. You got that little voice in your head that says, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. We all have it. And it comes with two specific problems when we don't accept who God made us to be. So first, we have to understand that God made us. And He made us specifically. In fact, He made us fearfully and wonderfully. The second part of that is we have to accept it. And there's two major challenges that come within accepting that. And it's not easy, and they face every single one of us. I don't care whether you're 2 or whether you're 102. Every single one of us fall into these two traps. And so the first trap, it's comparison. Compare yourself to other people. In fact, I've heard it said that comparison is it's the thief of joy. And just think about how awesome some of the things you've had in your life, and ooh, I got this, and oh, I got that, and man, I've got the awesomest car. And then somebody showed up with a nicer car, or somebody showed up with the next series of Xbox. That comparison piece, it's a challenge, and we see it more than ever before on social media. I know most people in here are on social media. If you're not, hey, thumbs up to you. But we see the best of everybody else. Nobody posts their fails or their arguments with their spouse on social media, or at least not very often. We're seeing the best of what everybody else has, and that's the standard we raise ourselves to. And when you get into that comparison space, there's two different sides of it. So it's comparing myself against other people and what they have that I don't have. Hey, that guy's loud, I'm pretty quiet. Maybe I can't have the impact. On the other side of it, though, is the comparison where we start to think we're better or we have things better than other people do. Hey, you know what? I must not be doing too bad. My car's a 2020 and he's driving a 2010. And we start to get some false confidence and some arrogance and some pride in there. And that's what happens when we start to compare. It starts to cause problems. I want to dive into the Bible as we talk about some of the comparison pieces and what we look at. And the first place I want to go is Galatians. So Paul wrote a lot of letters to a lot of different places. And in Galatians, he wrote, each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. Without comparing themselves to someone else. It's a challenge. We all do it. And it's a road that takes away from what God has designed us to be and us accepting what God has made us to be. Right on top of that, here, as I was preparing for this and sharing my heart with you, I came across a verse in the Bible, and it stuck with me. It's a little bit longer, so bear with me in this, but it's the last two words. I'm like, I got to share that. It's so good. So this one comes out of Ecclesiastes. There was no end to his toil, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. So that is the picture of overworking. Anybody in here ever overwork? Hey, I got to do this and I got to get that done so I can get this. And all of a sudden we don't have time for the things that are really important to us. Going back to the verse, for whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless. Now, here's the money ball. Here's the part that I like. A miserable business. Comparison is a miserable business. When you get into that comparison space, it does nothing good for us. So comparison is the first specific problem you have to be very aware of. The very second specific problem that I want you to be aware of is conforming. So we compare, or we start to go, oh, look at them. Look at how they do it. And we start to try and be like that. Look at how they're dressed. Look at what time they get up in the morning. Look at how they do the X, Y, and Z. And we start to try and be like other people are. And the challenge with that is this. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. God made you for a specific reason, for a specific purpose, not to do what Jimmy did or not to do what Sally did. He made you to do what you're supposed to do and not necessarily conform with everything that we're seeing in the earthly world. As we get into it and we think about those two things, we think about the comparing and we think about the conforming, and we think about not wanting to accept who God made us to be. So I'm 48, got a receding hairline, I'm loud. And at the end of the day, I finally accepted who God really wanted me to be. I'm right here, sharing a message in a church where maybe what I want to be doing is being an athletic director and playing games all day long. But this is where I'm supposed to be. I've accepted what God has made me for and what He's put me here for. And I think it's interesting. We're going to go into Romans 9:20. But who are you, a human being, to talk back to God? Shall what is formed say to the one who formed it, why did you make me like this? Does not the potter have the right to make out of the same lump of clay some pottery for special purposes and some for common use? Who are we to question who God made us to be? If we recognize that we're children of God and we recognize that God made us very specifically and fearfully and wonderfully, what are we doing wasting our time asking God why He made me that way? I stopped asking myself, why am I loud? And started asking myself, how can I use that? What can I do with that? I stopped asking myself, hey, you love to get things done, you like to make lists, you can't really relax. Instead of asking God, why God made me that way, I started going, okay, how can I use that? And when I started to accept who I was, it goes back to what Beth was talking about last week, about rest and rhythms, not so much the rest part, but when we're operating in the space that God made us and we accept what God made us to be, we're going to have a rhythm. And we've all been in a rhythm. We know what that's like. It's just a little bit easier. Things just go a little bit smoother. And a big part of getting into a rhythm is understanding how God made you, accepting it, and then beginning to use those gifts in all the different ways that you can use those gifts. One of the challenges is that comes with that conforming part, and we want to be like other people, is recognizing that God made us all uniquely. We're predictable, and we'll get to that in a minute, but He made us all uniquely. Just think about beetles. So last night in my house, I saw one of those Asian beetles that looks like a ladybug. Yeah, I saw somebody make a face. That made my day right there. But the Asian beetle in my house, and then I was thinking, God made like 600 different kinds of beetles. I mean, those are just beetles. And thinking about people and how different we all are, God made how many billions of people that are all different. And recognizing that, understanding that, and embracing the fact that although we're all different, God made us for a purpose. So let's look at the disciples. So you got 12 disciples. If you followed that part of the Bible at all, there's 12 disciples that are following Jesus, and they are all distinctly different. So right now, if you know the disciples a little bit, just think, who's my favorite disciple? And I'll say my favorite disciple is Peter, because he's a lot like me. I envision that Peter was a little bit spontaneous, maybe sometimes a little bit rush into things, and he was kind of a loud personality. And what tells me that is the Bible story. I don't know where it's at in the Bible, but the Bible story where the disciples are out in the boat and the water's a little rough, I think, and Jesus is walking on the water. And what does Peter do? He jumps out of the boat and starts walking on the water. He's going to follow his instinct. He's just jump right into it. Matthew on the other side. Let's talk about Matthew. So Matthew was the tax collector. In Matthew, especially if you read the book of Matthew, you can see how specific and detailed he is. But when you think about a tax collector, I think about an accountant, somebody that deals with money, works with money, and they pay attention to all those little details. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think Matthew ever just jumped out of anything to go do something spontaneously. He evaluated the risk, he made a list of why he should and why he shouldn't, and then decided if he was going to do it or not. And just by looking at those two different disciples, it's a great picture of how we're all made differently. I'm different from you, you're different from me, you're different from the person that you're sitting next to. And as we dive into that, I want to get into a little bit about how do we work with that. So to recap, first, you're a child of God. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. Second, accept who he made you to be. And when you accept who he made you to be and you have that understanding inside, that's when you can start to understand how other people are made and how God made other people, and you can connect with them even better. But here's a rule. You can't give what you don't have. So if you don't understand yourself, how are you going to understand somebody else? You've got to understand yourself first and accept yourself first. You can't give what you don't have. So as we jump into some of the practical things that you can, as Beth said, that you can put in your tool belt to interact with people, I got a little video we're going to show you. It's my kids. I got 4 kids. Haley's 20, Allie's 18, Emily's 16, and Marshall's 9. Marshall does not make an appearance in this video, but they're my kids. And just to let you know how difficult it is to connect with people that you love. So I love my kids. There's no doubt about it. I don't wake up in the morning and go, how can I make Haley's life a little bit rougher today? You know, I don't do that. None of us do that in our relationships. I don't think about my friends and go, how can I annoy Mike today? We don't wake up doing that, but how often do we annoy people? So just for fun, I asked my kids, hey, what do I do to annoy you? No script. Let's take a look and see what they had to say.
It really bugs me when Dad starts working on projects around the house in the early hours of the morning.
All right, I'm trying to sleep.
It annoys me when my dad reminds me of things that I actually need to do. Or that you always think you're right. And it's hard for you to believe you're wrong. It really bugs me when Dad's like, put your dishes away. And then
doesn't put his dishes on.
Exactly.
And it annoys me when he walks in my room and goes, how long have you been laying on that bed? All day? Is there a dent in it yet?
It really bugs me when my dad just miscommunicates or doesn't communicate at all, so then I have no idea what's going on. Also, when he's talking really loud in like public, it just is annoying. I also hate it when he goes, why, when I tell him no, because he just never accepts no as an answer. And then it really bugs me when he gets overly competitive about things. It just sets my soul on fire with just how mad I get. And also how loud he walks. That's it.
That's it. That was the perfect ending. Those are my kids. I love them. I want to make them happy. That's not the result I'm shooting for or aiming for. I'll tell you that right now. But that's what happened. So I want to share some things with you that help you connect, whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids, whether you have whether you have a spouse, whether you have a significant other, whether you have people in your life, what I'm going to share with you works with all three of them. And to lay the groundwork, I want to start off with some scripture that puts it into context. So if we jump into Philippians, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. Not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the other. And let's call it how it is. The space I live in, love your neighbor. Well, sometimes I want my neighbor to love me like I love myself. I want them to cater to me. And what the Bible tells us, what Jesus tells us, is to love people. Not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the other. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. So let's just go back to, I want to be a little bit more like Jesus and a little bit less like me. And think about other people before I think about myself. So we've laid the groundwork. God's made you fearfully and wonderfully, accepting that design and understanding how he made you. And now here are some tips to further understand how God made you and also to connect and understand with how God made other people. So I call them the triplets. This is again, it's the money ball. This is the big one. This is the one you can take away today and apply in your everyday life in every single relationship that you have. So the first one is, do you think or do you feel? And it's just like your right hand, left hand. I'm right-handed. I use my right hand predominantly about 80% of the time. My left hand still works. I use it too. The triplets are the same way. 75, 85% of the time, people are going to be predictable and act in the same way. And they are either thinkers or feelers. So Kyle Nelson, he's Beth Nelson's husband. We were talking a little bit this morning, and he was going, yeah. By 8:20 this morning, Beth asked me how I was feeling about 3 different things. And Kyle's a thinker like I am. And so when you think about people that are feelers, they're thinking about other people. They're thinking about the story behind things. They're thinking about the why behind things. But then you jump over here to the thinkers, and I'm a thinker. If you counted how many times I've said I think already this morning, it's up there. But thinkers are a little bit more analytical. They're a little bit more of a linear thinker. Hey, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. They're a planner. They like to make checklists. And so just thinking about when you have those two people, somebody who's a thinker and somebody who's a feeler, and they're operating as a thinker and a feeler, how well do those two things go together? Yeah, you're shaking your head. You're right. They don't go together at all, and it creates a lot of conflict. And so it's understanding first, am I a thinker or am I a feeler? Figure that one out, and then you can start to apply it to other people. Well, how do I apply it to other people? Ask a question. It gets kind of fun when you get to start to ask some questions. So right now, in case you're not aware, the weather is a hot topic. All right, good. I'm glad somebody got that. Just a little bit. The weather is a hot topic. Bad pun. Strike that from next time I speak. Maybe we don't need to include those. The weather is a hot topic. And so all you have to do is simply say to someone you're having a conversation with, man, that weather, and stop talking. Because somebody's going to finish that sentence for you. And we all have those people in our lives that finish our sentences. And the people that you're close to are going to do that. Man, that weather. And for me, I'd say, yeah, I think it's going to get a little bit hotter. And that just told you I'm a thinker. On the flip side of it, man, that weather. Whew, yeah, it feels so hot outside. I'm sweating before I even go outside. And they start talking about their feelings. It's just a simple little test to figure out if somebody is a feeler or a thinker. And once you start to pay attention to that, and once you go back to this line out of the Bible, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of the others. When you start thinking about the person that you care about before you're thinking about yourself, and you're thinking, oh, hey, my wife's a feeler. Maybe we're going to talk about some feelings before we start talking about what we're going to do today and what's on my to-do list. Hey, how are you feeling this morning? Hey, how do you feel about Marshall getting up at 6:30 this morning? Did you like that? Did you not like that? Get into her feeling space, and then it's much easier to start to get into my thinking space. Once we get through the feelings, hey, yep, here's what we need to do today so we can get in the car and get going to wherever we're going. So that's the first triplet right there. Think versus feel. The second one, see versus hear. So people are predominantly going to learn by seeing, that's a visual learner, or they're predominantly going to learn by hearing, that's an audio learner. Which one are you? Which one are the people that you spend time around? It's pretty simple. If I was going to try and get an answer out of somebody, I'm a sports fan, maybe some sports fans in here. We got the NBA Finals going on right now. We got the Suns and the Bucks, Game 5 last night. If I'm in my circle of friends, all I would have to do to start that conversation off is, man, the Bucks in Game 5. And somebody would say, I saw that score last night. Or somebody would say, hey, did you hear about Giannis's dunk at the end of the game and the foul by Chris Paul? Think, feel, see, hear. How are people operating? So the first thing, though, you got to remember is, what do you do? Do you see, do you hear? Because if you're not aware of that, you're not able to figure out what other people are doing because you can't give what you don't have. Interestingly enough, my wife, she is a hear person. I am a see person. How do you think that goes with our grocery lists? She'll rattle off 10 things because she's got it like that, and I hear it. And back in the younger days, then I'd go to the grocery store and I'd try and do it, and then I'd come home with half the stuff and the wrong stuff, and never good because we live 10 miles out of town. Now we've kind of gotten to a space where she recognizes that I need to see it, even if I only see it once, but I have to see it. In fact, this last Thursday, if you don't know, our staff, we work at a church, and it's not just the working side of things and getting ready for Sunday. We're also trying to grow spiritually. So we do devotions, a devotional time every Thursday at 9 o'clock. And this past Thursday, we did some assessment stuff so we could better understand what our rhythms are and what our sweet spots are. And I was sitting at a table, and Drew Erickson, you'd know him if you saw him. He's the guy with the hair that goes straight up like this. He's about my height. He's our youth and oxygen leader, and he does a fantastic job. And we were talking about reading books, and he's like, I can't read a book. I don't learn anything when I read a book. I have to listen to the audio book. If I listen to the audio book, it just clicks, and I just have it. While on the other side of it, here I am, I'm like, I can't listen to it auditory. I need to read it. Differences in people. Do you see or do you hear? And figuring that out. The third tool I want to give you is the most complicated one. But if you can get it down, it is also one of the most effective ones. And so is a person assertive or are they responsive? So let me give you a picture of what that looks like first. I would assume most people right now have ridden on an elevator. So the assertive person, they're in front of the elevator, they push the button, and there's not the light on it, so they don't know if the elevator button really got pushed or not, and there aren't the numbers up above, and so you're just kind of waiting. What does the assertive person do? Yep, they push it again. And then they're going to push it again, where the responsive person is going to push it once and just wait. So are you assertive or are you responsive? When you just think about when you're meeting someone, and you can watch these behaviors, when you're meeting someone new, even though we're a little bit post-pandemic right now and touch isn't a big thing, are you the person that sticks your hand out first to shake hands, or are you the person that responds? And how about the people you spend time around? Are they the person that sticks their hand out first, or are they the person that responds? And understanding if you're in some level of relationship with someone who is assertive or responsive, that's a game changer. All of a sudden, because you start to get a feel and you start thinking about what the other person needs. And if the other person is responsive, being assertive is like nails on the chalkboard. And so if you really love people, and you really want to connect with people, you have to understand first how you're made. Do you feel or do you think? Do you see, do you hear? Are you assertive or are you responsive? Which one is it? And once you start to understand yourself, then you can start to apply it to the people that you love and start to enhance those relationships and just make them a little bit smoother as you go along. So let's recap. And I know I've recapped a lot, because I like the old line, I'm going to tell you what I told you. I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to tell you what I told you. So what I shared with you this morning is, A, we are all fearfully and wonderfully made. God made us uniquely and with the love and joy of us being his children. Second, he wants us to accept who he made us to be. He wants us to understand who he made us to be, and he wants us to embrace that, because then we get to live in a rhythm versus in that conflict space. And then third, We have to love people more than we love ourselves. We have to be thinking of the other person before we think of ourselves. And once we understand ourselves, it becomes a little easier to do that, and the triplets are a great tool. Hey, is it think, feel? Is it see, hear? Or is it assertive, responsive? So as I wrap up today, I hope you take something away that improves your relationships with people today. And equally important, I hope you take away just that confidence that I'm a child of God, you're a child of God, we are all children of God. So let me close in a prayer. God, thank you for blessing me with the thoughts and the ideas and the experiences to share with people so maybe they can see how fearfully and wonderfully you made all of us and how much you love us like a parent loves their child, and that you want us to accept who you made us to be so that we can live in the greatness that you have in store for us and live in the rhythms that you've made for us. And let us all hopefully stick something in our minds from the ideas shared this morning to help us connect with people that we know, people that we care about, and people that we love. God, just help us be a little bit more like Jesus and a little bit less like us. In your name we pray. Amen.